So if you're not lining up every game this year, you can't have a great year. The 49ers played 19 games and he missed how many? So that's where it starts. And then you could go from there. So I would say it's a good year, but it's not a great year. Oh, I think Kyle had a great year, considering everything that, happened to that team. To go win a playoff game on the road like they did. Now, to get basically shut out by Seattle, 2 times like they did, it would be hard to say it was great.
Baldy, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. One of your colleagues, Kurt Warner, put out a long video breaking down the 49ers versus Seattle. And there was a litany of issues. Quarterback, what he's looking at pre-snap, post-snap, some of the route concepts, the personnel, the drops that he was taking, 11-step drops, Kyle Shanahan specific play calls. Why is it, in your estimation, if a Niner fan came up to you, why is it that the Rams can move the ball so well against Seattle, yet the Niners can't? What would your answer be?
The Rams protect very well. And the way that they protect, and it's not just 5 guys, it's the way the tight ends, the backs. You look at the throws that Stafford made on Sunday against Seattle, and really week 16, when was the last time they played them, they really protect well, and they understand the blitz concepts and where they come from. So rarely is Matt ever, or Sam ever, or Matt, I'm sorry, is he really under duress? So that's number one. Number two, the concepts that they use to get Jackson Smith-Njigba free look different than the concepts that Kyle uses. Not to say that one's better than the other, but obviously Jackson Smith-Njigba had one of those games where he couldn't be stopped. And the 49ers don't have a receiver like that. I mean, he's as good a route runner as there is in football. You saw the one-handed catch on just the bow out that he ran. His hands are as good as anybody's that plays the game today. And, they just don't have Rashid Shaheed is probably the fastest player in the league. If Tyreek Hill is out, he's probably the fastest player in the league. And so they have a lot of things that they do with that speed and then the route ability of Jackson Smith-Njigba to really shake loose for big, huge plays.
Talking with Brian Baldinger here on the Morning Roast, courtesy of the River Islands guest line, our Odyssey NFL Insider.
Joe, hold on a second. Yeah. I'm thinking Seattle here, and I know you asked me about the Rams, so yeah. I apologize. But it's very similar with Puka. Very similar with Puka. Like his ability, he's got the ability that Juwan has over the middle of the field to just get crushed. He knows he's going to get hit, and he's just that tough. And the way that he catches it, and they do attack the middle of the field like the 49ers do. They just don't have Puka, on the roster. And then just the red zone game that Matt Stafford has with Devontae or his tight ends, they've got 4 tight ends that they dress every game that all are viable receivers, whether it's Parkinson or Ferguson or, Higbee, whatever. Like they've got 4 guys that can attack in various ways.
So if Kyle came to you and said, Baldy, you watch this, you watch all these teams, where do I start? Like, what's the thing I have to get this offseason? What's the first order of business on offense that we need to upgrade?
Well, if you look at what Seattle did, I mean, they went out and, they drafted Gray Zabel in the first round, and he's a Pro Bowl guard, whether he is or not. He's a Pro Bowl guard. Charles Cross is a first-round pick. They really upgraded the offensive line, number one. So that would be one thing that I would look at. And then they've got real speed. They traded for Rashid Shaheed for a 3rd-round pick at the trade deadline. People thought that maybe just Rashid was a return specialist and kind of a gimmicky type receiver, but you could see like he changes the game the way that he plays. I mean, that would be 2 things I would get. I would have speed at receiver, and I'd have an upgrade in the offensive line.
So, Baldy, with that said, do you think the 49ers are in a position right now where they could give up a couple, whether it's a first round, a second rounder, try to make a big splash? Or do you think that they should be looking within and maybe consider moving off some of their proven talent that might be a little bit older that they could still get value for? I don't know, someone like a Nick Bosa potentially. You think they should be adding or looking within to trade some of their stuff?
I don't know. I mean, you could dangle Nick Bosa out there, they're not going to be a better team if Nick isn't in the uniform. So you have to recognize that. Now, whether you can get another high draft pick where you can go draft defense linemen, they don't have a great history in drafting edge rushers in San Francisco. Not saying that they can. Now we'll see what Michael Williams is, but I don't know what you could get for any of those guys right now. Whether it's, you're not going to trade Fred, obviously, but if you wanted to, if you dangle Nick out there, I'd be surprised after the injuries and his age that you get a high first-round pick for Nick. I'd be surprised.
On Friday, we broke down, we did basically the whole episode all day was talking about Brock Purdy. And we had a simple question. Did he have a good year, a great year, or a mediocre year when you account for the injury, the performance, where the team went, the big road win in the playoffs, and then ultimately losing in Seattle? So I ask you the same question, Brian. How would you evaluate Brock Purdy's season?
Well, if you just want to evaluate within your own division, Sam Darnold and Matt Stafford lined up every game this year. So if you're not lining up every game this year, you can't have a great year. All right, those two quarterbacks had great years. Right? They had a great championship Sunday day. It was a shootout. But in order to be in that conversation with Sam and with Matt and say you had a great year, you got to line up and play every game. So he played 19. The 49ers played 19 games and he missed how many? So that's where it starts. And then you could go from there. So I would say it's a good year, but it's not a great year.
Same exercise for Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, I think Kyle had a great year, considering everything that, happened to that team. To go win a playoff game on the road like they did. Now, to get basically shut out by Seattle, 2 times like they did, it would be hard to say it was great. But he had a great year. You bring in a new defensive coordinator and, and you play a bunch of rookies and young kids like they did, and you have all the injuries at the receiver position and at quarterback. I would say that's a great year.
Baldy, I'm looking at this team right now, and I'm talking to fans, and it's on one end, they're very happy with the season because they didn't even think they were making the playoffs. After the quarterback gets hurt, you lose Fred Warner, you lose Nick Bosa, that eventually you lose George Kittle later on. But they were happy to just get where they were. Then they started believing a little bit, right? It's like, wow, maybe, if we beat Philly, maybe we could beat anyone. And then they kind of get blown out. They get humbled, if you will, in Seattle. And now it's left questioning everything. We had the conversation yesterday all day on the station. The Niners are the 3rd best team in their own division. But those might be the 2 best teams, the Rams and Seahawks, in the entire conference. Where would you stack up the 49ers right now in the rest of the NFC, Baldy, if we know the Rams and Seahawks are above them?
Well, I'd like to know who's the defense coordinator is going to be, because we've seen the 49ers with a bad defensive coordinator, and they weren't a very good team. With D'Amico and with Saleh, they've been very good. But we also seen other guys fill out his shoes, and, Kyle was critical of the defensive coordinator calls in games, against Minnesota. I could pull out, games off the top of my head where Kyle was questioning some of the decisions that were being made. So, you can be as good as the roster, coaches and players. But, if you just look at Seattle's defensive roster, San Francisco doesn't have a corner like Devin Witherspoon, a playmaker like Nick Emmanwori, a quarterback like Julian Love. Those guys, first of all, those 3 guys lined up and played every game this year. They're not missing any games. And then, the back end, they still gave up 375 yards passing, to Matt Stafford. But they made plays at the end of the game when they had to win the game. Emmanwori and Witherspoon made tremendous plays to win the game. Not to mention anybody else, the depth on the defensive line, Leonard Williams starting, 19 straight games, and just looking – Tank Lawrence starting 19 straight games. Just the health of the team is so much greater than the 49ers. It's a real issue.
Baldy, I'm seeing Mike McDonald and Mike Vrabel have such quick success with their teams. One of them is going to win the Super Bowl, and either their second year or their first year with their teams. And I got a lot of Niner fans that are really frustrated that Kyle has not won a Super Bowl in 9 years. how should they weigh all of the team's success versus the lack of hoisting the Lombardi, given that they've, lost to the eventual Super Bowl champions a variety of times here? It's tough to compartmentalize. So how do you weigh this, for Kyle Shanahan here? We're entering year 10.
Yeah. I mean, Buffalo just made a big change for similar reasons. Like they couldn't get over with a quarterback that's been the MVP of the league. Baltimore just made a change, in Jim Harbaugh. I mean, very similar type situations. Harbaugh obviously was there 18 years or whatever it was. But, very similar situations. Here we are. We've got the MVP of the league. In both situations, they couldn't do what 49er fans want Kyle to do, and they made changes. And then you go, not only that, but Baltimore let Mike McDonald go. He was in the organization, right? And so you look at some of these things and you go, can Kyle, because this is what fans are saying, has Kyle taken this team, and this is what you're asking, has Kyle taken this team as far as he can take them? But he can't, until you get over the hump. They said the same thing about Bill Cowher for years in Pittsburgh. And then he won in his 15th year. And now he's a celebrated, Steeler great. So is it just, and it took Andy Reid a long, long time to get over the hump. It took a special quarterback and a defensive coordinator to get over the hump and win. He went to 5 NFC Championships games in Philly. He's still the all-time leading, coach in Philadelphia. But he couldn't win. They blew him out. They ended up winning with Doug Peterson. They ended up winning with Nick Sirianni. And so it's a difficult decision. It really is. We know Kyle's a great coach. Can he get you over the hump? That's a fair question to ask any 49er fan or football fan at this point, when you can make examples of these other teams that let their head coaches go, that won a lot of games, a lot of division titles, a lot of success, but haven't been able to win. And then you look at the quick success that these two, new coaches have made.